Hello everybody and welcome to another beautiful video. How to create perspective sketches with ease. How to define the vanishing points very accurately. I found actually for myself the easiest way to do this is photographing objects, because that tells me maybe how or where I have to place my vanishing points, so when I make then sketches by hand, it looks like in the photos. I have here various images. The link to these images in the video is in the description of the video, so please feel free to download it. It's a side stand photographed from the corner. And for example, I have here 3 images. They say corner 2.5, 0, 5, and corner 1. That's actually the lens. So if we go to 2.5, that is the telelens inside an iPhone Pro. And when we add, for example, some vanishing lines to the right vanishing point and to the left vanishing point, really pay attention to nearly how parallel these lines are. Okay. Let's go to the corner 1. That is actually made with the standard lens. Also here, when we add and mark up actually these edges, you start noticing that these lines are not that parallel anymore. These lower ones actually, they go up more. Okay. Then let's go to the corner 1. Look at here. Even stronger. This is actually photographed with the ultra wide lens. And I'm only marking up, in this case here, the horizontal. We can also pay attention to, in each image, onto the vertical lines too. You see how slanted they are. So what actually is the takeaway from this exercise is, I can take a look at an image with a wide angle lens, get really close, but then it's very distorted. I can photograph something with a normal lens, and I still get a little bit of distortion or perspective foreshortening. Or I can photograph something with a telelens, and then I get even less distortion. You notice also here the vertical lines. This is nearly vertical. And in the wide angle photo, it's super distorted. You see? Okay. Also, the difference between these images is how far is actually the left and right and bottom vanishing point away. In this tele lens, the vanishing points are pretty far away. In this wide angle lens, they're actually pretty close. So we can actually continue the direction, and somewhere here would be the vanishing points. Okay, so that actually will be very helpful when we go and define the vanishing points, how far they are apart. Now the question is also, from what angle do I take a look at my piece? Here, I look basically straight down. I'm a little bit more lower on my knees. Here my eye level is flush basically with the top edge. And here I'm on my ground or on the floor. And this is a really nice dramatic sketch. Looks pretty cool, no? Piece feels like a skyscraper growing up. So emotionally, this is actually a really nice sketch. A little bit unusual, however, to show. This is maybe not so good because I don't really see anything on the top. These two actually not too bad. While this is maybe way too top down, this feels more a little bit proportional good, easier on the eyes. What's also very interesting in these two images to see, pay attention to how big is the top and the side. They nearly look the same area-wise. And here it is not. The reason why I point this out is also, again, when we do perspective sketches by hand, sometimes we think how much I see from the side, how much I see from the top is wrong. But if we photograph something, then we can really see, oh, actually, this is correct. And it happened a few times that actually in class I thought a constructed view was incorrect. I sketched over the drawing of the student and it was correct. It was just how your eye or your imagination can be fooled. All these images, particularly evident through here, are also 3-point perspectives. For those who would like to experiment and have a camera software that can do it, or we can do this in Photoshop, there is something called perspective distortion correction. And you notice here how vertical actually these edges are. And that is because I have a tool turned on for the perspective correction. And then this truly represents then a 2-point perspective, because in theory then all vertical edges are really vertical. That's a shortcut of 2-point perspective, which is also why 2-point perspective doesn't look very realistic, but is easier to sketch. Now, in the other download link, there are 3 more videos. Since I talked about the 2-point perspective, let's go to that video and play it. Here you can see I'm rotating the camera, focus on the point, and then I turn on that correction tool. It's actually pretty cool, but you see how it makes the bottom part of the furniture piece pretty distorted. There you can really see this. Now, and this is basically why a 2-point perspective sketch can look kind of odd, and a 3-point perspective sketch will look better. But again, 3-point perspective sketch is also more work. The corner view is also really interesting. It shows you again the 2.51 and 0.5 lens. You see I'm getting closer and switch the lens. This on the wide angle, and it's super distorted. Very dramatic, but very difficult to really explain an object. With the 1, it's okay. With the 2.5, it gets maybe a little bit too flat, but it's also easier to sketch. And then here with the front, we can see the same too. And here you can really see how the front area is super distorted. And then with the 2.5, I have to go further away, and it looks much better. Okay, very good. So the takeaway from this basically is for your own benefit, photograph objects and then sketch over it. Or that's the reason why I also made this video. We have to sketch furniture, and everything can easily be sketched into a cube. This is a cubical object. So we can use one of these photos to actually use as a reference to then create a really nice and realistically or correct looking perspective grid. To start, in concepts, we will create a new empty document, and then we will take the 2-point perspective photo and swipe it into it. Very good. Now we can scale it up a little bit. Very good. Tap somewhere. We don't want this image to rotate. We can lower the transparency and lock it. Very good. Okay. Let's go to another layer. I will go to an ink pen, make this 100, line maybe a little bit smaller. Very good. And because this should work as a 2-point perspective, we only have the left and right vanishing points. So from this corner, I draw a line out, but ideally, we do this, let's hit the corners correctly there. And then I need to continue this, ideally, till I find these two lines cutting each other. There. Very nice. Then let's do the same on the other side. There. Okay, cool. Sweet. Very nice. So if I connect these two, yeah, it's nearly horizontal. Okay, so with this done, now let's go to grid. And then you have here all these grid points. Go to 2 point. Edit grid. Edit points. And then here you have, this is the left vanishing point, and I drag it to there. And then here's my right vanishing point. You see this dashed line. This dashed line is actually the horizontal line. Little tip. So when I go to here and release, you see it snaps to that horizontal line, which is pretty cool because it's an auto vertical horizontal alignment, but can be irritating when we don't want that. Just move it and wait, and then you see it will disappear. Cool. Okay, so grid is set up. I will go to here, make a new layer. Now I can zoom in. We will turn on snapping. Align to grid, that's all I need. Allow turns. Nah. Actually, I turn this off. Autocomplete, active layer only. Key point snapping. Yeah. This is all good. Very nice. So now I can just zoom in because my grid is set up. I can start sketching. And you see, that's actually pretty cool. Now I will very quickly retrace here this furniture piece. There are some inaccuracies of the grid, that's fine. We'll leave it this way because this exercise is more meant to give you an idea of how actually does this technology work. Here, zip. And there, cool. Yeah, there you see, no? Very easy to create then perspective grids. So a furniture piece like this can be really super useful for simply blocking out or finding a good perspective look. If I turn this off, so we don't really see the photo, I have here my one of my favorite tools, Geodreieck, geometry triangle, as we call it in German. And what I have here, what I put down is, this is 90 degrees. And the lower corner, this one here, whoops. This one should never be less than 90 because then it will be pinched. It can be much wider. That's totally fine. Then it's not as distorted. Okay. Now basically with what we can do now then with the grid, we can block, for example, geometry-wise something out. I can always, let's say I need to find half of the height of this side. I can always then turn this off, obviously. And then for the moment, sketch in 2 helper lines. There's now my midpoint. And then from there, okay, there's my geometrical true midpoint. And then these other 2 lines here I can delete. The same also with curved elements. Now, if we need to round something, then we turn the grid snapping off. Or I mean, this is for the view and this is just for the snapping. Sketch something in by hand and then we switch between snapping and not snapping. Very good. If we want to do a 3-point perspective, let's do this very quickly. Make a new drawing. Then let's really use our extreme case there. Very good. Then we scale it. No, we don't want to rotate it. Actually, I can make this a little bit bigger because I just want to have the furniture piece nice and big on my drawing and the photo doesn't really matter. Very good. Let's lower the transparency, lock it. Very good. Then we go to this layer and do the same. Turn all this off and try to find my vanishing points. And there you see already the vanishing points are there. Super easy. Sock there. And that's because it is such a strong distortion. And I'm also very close. Then 3-point this time. You do there, hold and snap. There. Where's the third one? There. Very good. Let's make a new layer. Snap to the stuff here, turn this off. Very good. And let's see, how good does this match? And you see, the result is actually impressively good. Okay, now then we could continue adding all the details to it if we want. But again, this is not a video to completely sketch this piece. This is more a video meant to give you an idea of how does actually 1-point, 2-point perspective, for example, work. And how does it look? That's the really important part. Okay, very good, nice. To bring this exercise to an end, I created another 3-point perspective drawing. This was actually photographed with the 2.5 lens and looking slightly down. Now, and looking down, it makes vertical lines tilt a little bit. But because I use a tele lens, the vertical distortion of the lines isn't really as crazy. And this actually looks pretty good, much better compared to the 3-point perspective with the wide angle lens. Here I really focus on this corner and the rest gets kind of like distorted and squeezed out. This looks actually pretty good. When we compare then this to it, we kind of like can feel that what is going on in this area down there. This feels like, something feels wrong here. And that is technically speaking because we cannot see the world this way. If we look down or so with the camera, so the lines will actually just rotate. And this photo was done correcting that perspective distortion. This is also a really good example to show you what really 2-point perspective will look like. You will never be able to make a 2-point perspective look like a 3-point perspective. But a 3-point perspective has a third vanishing point. It makes it more complicated. Which is why the 2-point perspective is, with the issue of realism, simply the more easier and quicker to work with perspective. So it's kind of like a compromise we can cut here. Very good. That pretty much, I think, sums everything up about how to create perspective grids for 2-point and 3-point perspective, and to make sure that then if we sketch something, our design actually will look good. So the key here is take reference photos, trace them, and then we draw our own stuff into it.